Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. Thank you so much for being here. This week I am taking you through my drawing process of drawing this little duck family. I just thought it'd be nice to share with you, and maybe if you're wanting to learn how to use Procreate a little bit, this could be really helpful. And if you want to see how I turn this into this, then please keep watching. So this is the image that we're starting out with today. This is the last prompt from a prompt list that I hosted through the whole of February on my Instagram. I did a 28 days of sunshine challenge, things that I love, and I created illustrations related to words. And I'm just so happy with how it came out. Thank you so much if you joined in with the challenge. It really means so much. This is the last prompt. This is spring. Now when I think of spring, I always think of baby animals and duckies. I love duckies. I think they're so sweet, and I don't think I've actually attempted to draw a duck before, like properly, so I thought I'd give it a go. Why not share the process with you, because again it's something very new, and maybe you're interested in this and you just want to see how it comes out. What I've done, this is my illustration. This is a quick from the brain sketch that I did a couple of nights ago because I knew I wanted to film this video. Also got a couple of references here that I've just added to a new layer that I will delete when I've used them, just to get a slightly more realistic shape of a duck. I might stick with kind of what I've done, but kind of adapt that shape just a little bit. I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to just feel mine, if that makes sense. It's kind of a mix of a few different ducks, probably slightly these ducks, maybe some geese. It's a mummy ducky with her babies. We've got a little one on the back, we've got one on the top, and also one down here, but I know their shapes aren't quite right, so that's something we're going to work on now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my layers tab, and I'm going to lower the sketch opacity by tapping the N on the sketch layer, and I'm going to bring that down to about around 20% so that I can see the lines, but they're not going to get in the way of me refining them. And then I'm going to add a layer above that. Now if you're interested in the brush that I'm using the Lacey Line from the Fizz and Flourish brush pack. I absolutely love this. I love the texture, I love the way that it tapers. Thank you so much, Meg, for making a lovely brush. I really enjoy working with this. I'm going to choose my colour. I tend to use like a browny reddy colour, which I just quite enjoy this colour. I think it's soft enough but bold enough for me to kind of work with. I'm going to make sure I'm on the right layer, which is the one above the sketch layer, and I'm just going to go in and start just defining my lines. This can still be quite rough because I am going to do like a line art layer, but this is where I'm just kind of defining my lines and making sure that I'm happy with how the duck is looking. So I'm not going to be too harsh on myself with this bit, just going to kind of define those shapes a little bit and make sure that I'm happy. And because this is another sketch layer, I am going to keep it all on the same layer for now, but when I do my line art I'll be doing everything on additional layers, just because when I come to edit them it'll make things easier, but I will show you exactly how I do that when we get there. But for now I'm just going to keep it on the same layer and keep it, yeah, all kind of together. Now I kind of want these baby duckies to have slightly stupidly big heads, just because I think it could be quite funny with them with their slightly abnormal head sizes. I think it could give them that kind of youthfulness that I want them to have. I'm just moving layers around. So what I did there is I just used this, I can't remember what this is called, it's like a selector tool up to the left hand side. It's like the S shape. You can just select around your item in freehand, and then that allows you to move that item. It does affect the pixels. I don't recommend doing this once you're kind of on your final piece, but while you're working on your sketch layers it's not really a concern because it's going to be redrawn anyway. I also struggle a little bit with duck feet. They're kind of odd. Make some little padded padded, what's the word, webbed feet, and I will define those feet a little bit more. I really love this little one on the back too, the little one that's trying to fly. I just thought it'd be cute to have them all kind of doing slightly different things, give them all a little bit of a personality, I suppose. And then I'm going to add the wings over the top. Again, I'm not sure I've done this quite correct. I need to come up a little bit higher. Okay, that's better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide by unticking the sketch layer, and that gives me an idea to how the sketch is now. So I'm much happier with the shapes that I've got. So we've gone from this kind of messy sketch to this kind of more defined. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer. So I'm going to hide the original sketch layer, create a layer above this one, and then I'm going to lower the opacity again to about 20%. And this is where I'm really going to start doing my line art, defining lines, making sure that I'm happy with how things look and putting things onto their own layers. I'm also going to delete my references and make sure that this layer is at the right size that you want your illustration to finish at. So I'm actually going to tap the selector tool and I'm going to make this illustration bigger. I'm going to make sure it's on uniform and then just slide out a corner, and I'm just going to center that, and that is the size that I want the illustration to be and where I want everything to kind of finish. Now I'm going to do my line art. I'm going to put some music over this bit and you can watch me kind of bring this bit to life. So now that I've got some line art that I'm pretty happy with, I am going to start choosing my colours. Now I am going to make a layer underneath all of these layers. So currently I have this ducky as a separate layer, this one, and then all of these. They're all on their own individual layers. That allows me just to be more organised with my illustrations and make sure that well, it's just going to make my process easier, if that makes sense, because obviously if this was all on the same layer, when I come to change these colours, I'm then going to have to be really careful and make sure I don't go onto the wrong duck, whereas having them on the separate layers allows me to change things and be fairly messy with it without it looking messy. It'll make more sense as I go about finishing this. Now for colouring in, I use the round brush in the painting section. This is just a very block colour brush. I really enjoy it for colouring. I just know that I'm not missing any areas because it's fully opaque, unlike for example this that has gaps and things in it. This is just much more of a solid line and means that I can colour it in really easily. I'm going to go up to the colour select tool to the right hand side and I'm going to start choosing colours that I want my ducks to be. So I'm going to start off with yellow for the duckies and I'm just going to really roughly colour. I'm not going to worry about staying in the lines. I'm going to make my brush quite big. This is just going to allow me to kind of choose the colours that I want without committing to them, because the last thing I want to do is go about finishing this drawing or go about colouring it in, realise that I absolutely hate all the colours I've chosen and then tediously have to go in and change everything. If I can choose everything now, it allows me to make the next process much smoother, and it just allows me to visualise the piece before it's finished. I'm actually going to do Mama Ducky as a light yellow as well, I think. I don't want to go too by the book with these colours. I want it to be colours that kind of gravitate towards too, and that just make it feel a little bit more me, because I love using yellow tones. I love the colour yellow. If you know me, then you know that. But yeah, I really love these colours. I think we're going to go with like an off yellow Mama Ducky, because I think that is a slightly older colour in a sense, shows that that's the mum. I am going to soften this yellow a little bit, I think, though, because I don't know if this is too bright. I'm not sure, so I'm going to try something a little bit deeper. No, I don't like that. I'm just going to play around for a little bit and choose the colours that I want for this piece. Okay, so I actually really like this colour palette. I think it's really soft, it's really pretty, it's just very me. I really like it. I know some people might think it's a bit too much yellow, but I really enjoy this. So what I'm going to do now is, because it's all on the same layer, I'm actually going to select the layer and I'm going to have it on uniform and shrink that layer so that it goes up into the corner, and that way I can just pick and choose the colours that I'm going to use when I actually fully colour it in. The next thing I'm going to do is colour this in properly. Again, I'm going to be using the round brush. I'm going to have it on a slightly smaller setting, maybe around 5%, because that will allow me just to be a bit more precise when I colour. And this is where I'm going to start separating my layers as well. So each separate colour is going to be a separate layer as well. So I'm going to start with the big ducky, select the colour with my finger over here, hold it over the colour that I want, and then make sure I'm on the right layer and start colouring. I am a drag and drop colourer, so I will draw the outline of the colour, then I will take the little bubble from the right hand side and I will drag it into my piece and fill like that. If it doesn't quite come to the edge, you can drop it in and then hold and pull back and forth, and that will allow you to kind of choose the threshold of that colour drop. I have mine up fairly high, again it depends on the brush that I'm using, but if you're using a textured brush, if you drop the colour, you're not going to get that texture as you drop it. So if you're wanting to colour with more of a texture, you need to sit and colour as if you're using pens and pencils. Because I'm using solid colours, I can drag and drop, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, so the next step for me is to now add to these colours and add some depth and dimension with highlighting and shading. I'm going to select the layer that I want. I'm first actually going to delete this colour selector because I know that I've got these colours in that frees up an extra layer. So I'm going to make a layer above the colour that I've chosen, and then I'm going to tap that layer and click clipping mask. This is going to mean that I only draw within that layer. So even though you can see that I'm going all over the place, it's only adding on top of that layer. I'm going to tap on the colour that I'm using and I'm going to go to the colour selector and select a colour that's down but also slightly warmer, and I'm just going to test that alongside the duck. So I think I could probably go a little bit lighter and warmer like that. I think that's a lot better because I'm also going to be changing this colour to match as well. I'm then going to change my brush. So for my shading and highlighting, I actually use the 6B pencil in the sketching section. This and the painting round brush are just set pencils that are in Procreate when you buy it. And then all I'm going to do is go into the areas that I think would have shading. So under the wing would have shading because it's sitting on top of the duck. In this kind of underside, also going to highlight, so I'm going to select the colour, the main base colour, and I'm going to go lighter. So this is quite on the way towards white, and that's I've just realised I've completely forgotten to shade somewhere that's quite important, which is under the duck, where the duck is sat on the head. So again, choose that lighter colour. And this is going to be the highlight shade, so this is going to be anywhere that I think would have highlighting. And again, you can use like references for this. If you have like a light source, for example, if the sun is over here, then you'd want to bring the light source slightly differently, but I don't really have a light source on this. I haven't chosen one. Now I've done all of my shading and highlighting. You probably can't see it that well on the camera, to be completely honest. You can see there's a slight difference here in the colours, but to my eyes, actually looking at the illustration, it's very much there. It's quite subtle, but it is there. So the next step for me is actually changing these brown lines to match up the illustration. So for example, I'm going to take the ducky on the top, so the layer with this sketch, I'm going to add a layer above that. Again, click clipping mask, select the darker colour that I used for the ducky in the shading, and I'm going to go even darker than that, so I'm going to just bring it down and maybe a little bit warmer again, and I'm going to go onto the round brush in the painting section, bring it up quite large, and I'm going to colour in this ducky. Now as you can see, it just colours the reddy brown lines to make it all look a little bit more cohesive, but I actually don't like that colour. We're going to again select this darker shading colour, bring it down a little bit and warmer. That's a bit better. It was a little bit too brown before. I think this is a better option. And then again the same with the beak. I'm going to choose that slightly darker colour and pick. There we go. And I'm going to choose my next layer, which I'm going to do the next little ducky, add a clipping mask, which is the ducky down here. Choose that same colour that I did here so that they all kind of work together, it's all cohesive, and colour in this ducky. And I'm just going to keep going until all my duckies are coloured in and look, yeah, more cohesive. Now we are on to the final steps, which is just adding a little bit of life to the eyes. I'm going to add a layer to the top of everything, and I'm just going to work them all at the same time. So I'm going to go back to my Fizz and Flourish Lacey Line brush, and this is where I'm going to add some life to the eyes. So again, layer on top of everything, and then I'm just going to bring a little bit of life to the eyes. I normally tweak this so much because it never looks quite right. Again, I'm still learning a lot, especially when it comes to eyes, so it's never going to be 100% perfect, but that's all part of the process. And then I'm going to add a little bit of detail, so again bring up the size to what I want, so about 20. I'm just going to add a couple of little kind of I'm flying lines, like where he's like flapping his wings, just to add a little bit of movement. And I'm going to lower the opacity of this as well, like that. And then we have a finished drawing. I really hope you enjoyed being part of this and learning my process. If you'd like to see more of these, please give this video a thumbs up and let me know if there's anything you'd like to see me draw in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will speak to you guys very soon.